Chaos in your head. Find peace fast. Do your thoughts ever suddenly turn into a hurricane? It's as if a storm is brewing within, sweeping away everything in its path, from calm to the ability to think clearly. Each idea collides with the next, turning into an endless stream of, what if, why is this, what if? And the harder you try to stop this chaos, the more powerful it becomes, like a wind that only grows stronger with your resistance. But the truth is, this storm is not a death sentence. There is a way through it. There is an approach that doesn't suppress thoughts by force, but teaches you to see their nature differently. You can navigate the storm and emerge into the calm waters of inner peace, if you know how to manage your attention, your breathing, and your attitude toward what's happening. Stoicism, mindfulness, and proven practical methods aren't just beautiful words. They are tools with which you can truly tame the mental waves. They are suitable for anyone who wants to gain clarity of mind and stop being a prisoner of their own thoughts. Imagine standing on the bridge of your inner ship. A storm of thoughts rages outside, but you are the one holding the helm. You can steer it toward calm by learning to observe the storm rather than drown in it. And now we will embark on this journey, a journey toward silence in the mind, toward inner order, toward resilience in the face of any mental storm. This is not a path of instantaneous deliverance, but of gradual transformation. But step by step, you will feel the noise subside, and true peace emerge within. Sometimes thoughts seem too personal, too close, almost inseparable from ourselves. We perceive them as truth, as a reflection of our character or inner world. But the first step to liberation is to understand, thoughts are not you. They are like guests who suddenly enter your home. Some arrive quietly, some noisily, some linger longer than you would like, but none of them truly own this space. Imagine your overthinking as rain. Not just a light drizzle, but a downpour, where every drop is anxiety, doubt, a what-if scenario. The more you try to stop the rain with your hands, the harder it hits you. But you can do something else, you can build a shelter. Mindfulness is the ability to notice your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Meditation is a practice that strengthens this ability. Sit, close your eyes, and imagine a storm raging around you. You hear the sound of the waves, feel the gusty wind, but in the center of this scene stands a small but sturdy shelter. You step inside, and it's quiet. The storm is still outside, but it no longer defines your state. This is what happens when you learn to observe thoughts from the outside. You take a step back. You watch them come and go, like clouds in the sky. Today there are many, tomorrow fewer. Some are dark, some are light, but they are all temporary. And when you stop clinging to every thought, you suddenly notice. There's space between them. This space is calm. It's the place where you make clear decisions, see the situation clearly, and don't let the storm of thoughts drag you down. This technique doesn't teach you to fight the storm. It teaches you to stand in its center, confidently, calmly, mindfully. And the more often you practice this state of observer, the less often your thoughts will turn into a hurricane, and the easier it will be to return to your inner refuge every time external or internal waves rise. When the mind begins to spin like a storm, when thoughts seem to have broken loose and are rushing in all directions, the best thing to do is not try to stop them by force. Fighting the whirlwind is useless. But we have another way, to redirect our energy into simple, grounding actions that bring us back to the body, to the present moment, to reality, where everything is much calmer than in our heads. The flow of thought thrives in emptiness. If the mind is unoccupied, it fills the space with speculation, worries, and endless internal dialogues. But when you offer the brain a specific action related to the physical world, it switches gears. And this switch isn't an escape, but a conscious reorientation of energy. The simplest actions work best. Walking. This is the oldest form of mental relaxation. Step by step, the body moves rhythmically forward, and the breath synchronizes with the movement. At some point, thoughts begin to subside, and the internal storm turns into a gentle breeze. You notice the sound of footsteps, the cold or warmth of the air, the light. You return to reality, not the one created by thoughts, but the one that exists around you. Reading. When the mental chaos is too loud, reading becomes a safe corridor. You give the brain a ready-made trajectory, lines of text, a plot, a meaning. Your mind stops creating anxious scenarios because it's busy following someone else's thoughts. And after a while, a smooth, calm surface forms within it. Be fully present in the action. It could be anything: washing dishes, folding clothes, cooking. But you need to do one thing: be fully present in the process, sensing the movements, smells, temperature of the water, the texture of the objects. When you immerse yourself in the action, your mind automatically calms, as your attention is focused on the here and now. This technique is based on an important principle of Stoicism. Discipline begins with action. We don't have to wait for our state to change on its own. We can create the conditions for inner peace with our own hands. A simple step, a simple movement, a small action, and the storm no longer seems so destructive. In each such action, you invest the energy that was previously wasted on chaotic thinking. In this way, you gradually transform the inner hurricane into a stream that can be directed, and direct it where it brings benefit, not destruction. Every thought, even the most obsessive, has one thing in common: it is temporary. We often attach too much weight to thoughts, as if they were carved in stone and destined to determine our state, decisions, or mood. But if you look closely, you'll notice that thoughts are more like waves: they are born, gain strength, roll in, and inevitably dissolve. When you understand that mental images are not permanent structures, but changing processes, a tremendous amount of internal energy is released. Instead of fighting every thought, you begin to simply observe its movement. It comes and goes. It rises and fades. Just as the sea never stands still, the mind also lives to the rhythm of the tides. This is where the art of letting go comes in. Letting go doesn't mean weakness, indifference, or abdication of responsibility. It is the ability to stop clinging to what doesn't serve you, to anxious scenarios, to doubts, to memories that have long since ceased to be useful. Imagine that each unnecessary thought is a pebble you hold in your palms. The longer you hold it, the heavier your gait becomes. But simply release your fingers, and you'll feel a lightness you've long forgotten. The practice of letting go is a gradual liberation of inner space. When you stop holding on to unnecessary things, space appears within for calm, clarity, and profound silence. You don't have to control every thought. You can allow them to come and go, like waves on the shore. And this is the beginning of inner freedom. One of the most destructive habits of the mind is the desire to worry constantly. Anxiety surfaces during work, rest, socializing, even before sleep. It fills every empty space and becomes a background noise that's impossible to ignore. But what if you give anxiety its own space? What if you divide your time so that you worry consciously, and only when you decide to? This practice is called a worry period. The idea is simple: set aside 10 to 20 minutes each day at a specific time, preferably in the morning, when you can calmly and soberly consider everything that's troubling you. This becomes a separate container for your worries. What happens next? When a new anxious thought arises during the day, you don't let it swirl around in your mind. You calmly say to yourself, "I'll think about this later. Now is not the time." And redirect your attention back to the task at hand or to rest. The brain gradually learns discipline. Worry, in its allotted time. Life, in the rest of the time. This simple method creates amazing clarity. You stop mixing real-life concerns with worries about a hypothetical future. You become more focused, calmer, and more effective. And most importantly, you once again feel that you control your thoughts, not your thoughts control you. The paradox is that when anxiety is given a strictly limited time, its impact on the rest of the day is significantly reduced. This way, you train your mind to separate life from worries, and regain control. When a huge, heavy thought appears in your head, it has a paralyzing effect. It seems too big, too complex, too important. Because of it, you feel pressure, anxiety, and inner tension. The brain perceives such a thought as a monolithic rock. It's unclear where to start, where to end, or what to do with it. But this rock has a weakness. It crumbles when broken down into small, concrete steps. When you transform a large problem into a chain of simple, understandable actions, you take away its power. You transfer it from the world of abstract fear to the realm of control, structure, and clarity. Instead of, "I can't handle it," you become, "I'll do this first." For example, instead of, "My life is falling apart, I need to write a list of what's most important right now." Instead of, "I don't know what to do next," the first step is to write down the problem. Instead of, "Too many tasks," the first thing is to spend 10 minutes on the most important thing. Every small step is a victory. It's proof that you can move forward, even if anxiety rages inside. When a thought is broken down into its components, it stops controlling you. You create a route, and routes aren't scary, they lead forward. This technique is a way to regain a sense of control. You no longer drown in a stream of thoughts, but rather follow them like steps. Step by step, thought by thought, action by action, and what seemed impossible becomes simply a task that can be accomplished. When the mind is immersed in anxiety, it begins to see the world only through the prism of threats, uncertainty, and negative scenarios. This is natural, the brain is designed to seek out danger. But if it's not given an alternative, it will dwell only on the negative. The gratitude technique is a way to gently but very effectively refocus your consciousness. Don't fight anxiety, but rather shift your attention to what's already good. To what gives you a sense of stability, warmth, and reality, not hypothetical, but present. Take 1 minute every day to name 3 simple things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big achievements. The simpler, the better. Warm tea in the morning. A quiet moment of silence. Someone's kind gesture. A comfortable bed. Fresh air. The feeling of having accomplished something small. These small gratitude anchors act as an antiseptic against anxiety. They clear your mind, returning you to a reality that isn't as dire as a tense mind paints it to be. Gratitude isn't an attempt to ignore problems. It's a way to remind yourself that there's another side to life beyond anxiety. That the world is filled with things that support you, even when everything seems difficult. When you find at least 3 reasons to say, "I'm grateful," every day, your internal compass gradually shifts. From a state of threat to a state of presence, warmth, and stability. And the more consistent this practice, the more quickly the mind learns to see not only anxious shadows but also the light that surrounds you every day. One of the main causes of mental stress is the struggle for control over what isn't ours. We try to control the future, outcomes, other people's reactions, chance, circumstances, everything that is inherently unpredictable. The Stoics believed that this is where anxiety originates. When our attention is focused on something we can't guarantee, we inevitably feel internal stress. But take a step back, and the focus shifts. The effort is within our control. The outcome is not. When you learn to focus specifically on the effort, you free your mind from unnecessary pressure. You no longer try to win a game whose rules you don't control. Instead, you invest your energy in what you can control right now. The quality of your actions. The integrity of your intentions. Discipline. Diligence. The process. This brings amazing freedom. When you give your best to what you can, the outcome ceases to be a source of fear. It becomes a natural consequence, not a threat. Even if things aren't going perfectly, you understand. I did my part. I gave the best effort I could today. This creates peace. Because you're no longer dependent on fickle circumstances, you rely on your own hard work. The Stoic approach teaches you to embrace uncertainty and find strength in what you can control. And when you stop measuring your worth by your results, the pressure of anxiety begins to disappear. In its place, a sense of inner stability emerges, a calm, confident presence. Overthinking often stems from the habit of seeking comfort and avoiding uncertainty. We're surrounded by a safe routine where everything is predictable, and the mind becomes accustomed to this calm. But it's precisely in this comfort zone that anxiety accumulates. The mind begins to invent scenarios and create endless what-ifs, because it's bored or cramped in its familiar shell. Voluntary discomfort is a conscious decision to step out of this zone in small steps. Not for self-punishment, but to train resilience, flexibility, and the ability to adapt to the unpredictable. Examples of simple actions. Take a cold shower. Walk instead of driving. Try something new you've previously avoided. Change your usual routine. Every small disruption to your usual comfort strengthens the mind. You teach yourself, I can handle discomfort. It's not a threat, it's an experience. Over time, consciously stepping out of your comfort zone reduces the power of anxious thoughts. The mind no longer fears change or gets stuck in future scenarios, but begins to see opportunities. This practice transforms your inner world into a space where excessive thinking loses its grip. You're no longer a prisoner of comfort and predictability, you're exploring new boundaries of personal resilience. Voluntary discomfort isn't torture, but a path to freedom and inner strength. Every small action strengthens you, making the storm of thoughts less destructive and more manageable. We often get stuck in the smallest details, work tasks, household chores, minor misunderstandings. They seem to define our entire day, even our lives. And in this fixation, excessive thinking is born. The mind inflates problems, making them insurmountable. But it's worth taking a step back and taking a broader view of life. Imagine the timeline of your life, years, decades, moments of happiness, difficulties, encounters, and losses. From this perspective, most daily worries appear as tiny dots against the vast backdrop of existence. Reflecting on the transience of life helps you reassess your priorities. Understand what's truly important. Stop wasting energy on unimportant details. This is not a call for indifference or apathy. On the contrary, recognizing the ephemerality of everything helps you appreciate the present, see the richness of every moment, every breath, every encounter, and every action. When you practice observing life on a grand scale, internal noise and anxiety begin to subside. You see not only small problems but also the grandeur and beauty of existence. A broader perspective is like switching the lens from a microscope to a telescope. What seemed like a huge storm becomes part of the natural flow of life. And with this comes clarity, calm, and the ability to accept life as it is, appreciating every moment. Sometimes overthinking is exacerbated by trying to solve everything alone. We become introverted, mulling over the same situation over and over again, and this creates a sense of impasse. But seeking wisdom outside yourself opens new horizons. Think of your mind as a treasure chest. It's filled with ideas, thoughts, and possibilities, but sometimes the solution is hidden beneath a layer of fog from overthinking. Connecting with others, friends, mentors, colleagues, helps clear this fog. Share your thoughts with a trusted person. Ask for advice from someone who has been through similar situations. Sometimes a fresh perspective is enough to see a path where you once saw only a labyrinth. By seeking wisdom outside yourself, you don't admit weakness, you recognize the power of collaboration, collective intelligence, and the social support that each person possesses. You expand your inner world and create the opportunity to make decisions with greater clarity and confidence. When you open yourself to external sources of knowledge, solutions become less elusive. You see that navigating a storm of thoughts is easier when you walk not alone, but with those who can be your compass and support. This practice makes you more flexible, more confident, and gives you the feeling that even in difficult situations, you are not alone. The wisdom and experience of others is always there, just a hand away. We've covered 10 practical techniques, each of which helps you cope with excessive thinking and find clarity and inner peace. From observing thoughts and meditation to gratitude and seeking external wisdom, each strategy creates space for a mindful, calm, and resilient life. Now it's all up to you. Choose one or more techniques and start applying them today. A small step today can be the beginning of big changes tomorrow. If you found this material helpful, please leave a like. It's a sign of your support and an incentive to create new useful materials. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next tips and practices that will help make your life easier, calmer, and more harmonious. And most importantly, share your results. Which technique was most effective for you? What changed after using it? Your experience can inspire others and help them take the first step toward inner peace. Remember, the path to clarity and peace is a journey. Step by step, thought by thought, action by action, and gradually you create your own space of peace in a world full of mental turmoil.